Hi, this is Aaron Wilson from the NFL Scouting Combine. The wide receiver position is a huge point of emphasis for the Texans this offseason. It may very well define their season. They have a very fluid group there when you think about the injuries that they're still dealing with Stephon Diggs, a free agent, and coming off a torn ACL. Tank Dell, my reporting is that he's expected to miss the season with multiple torn knee ligaments, including his ACL, which is being reconstructed, and it's very unlikely that he would be able to play this year. So what that means is they need reinforcements. One of their options is Diggs, and Diggs, who had filed a civil lawsuit against a woman that he said had assaulted him, damaged his property, so that's in the news. A little bit of a distraction, I believe. Maybe not for him, but not ideal for a guy that you're going to invest a lot of money in to be involved, even if he is the alleged victim of this, assault and this dealings with a former reality television star, a woman that was on Basketball Wives Orlando. I had to look that up. So yeah, Diggs in the headlines, not really something you want to be, talked about for. That said, he's a good wide receiver, and that is one option that they still are exploring and looking into. It is not over yet, per sources, between the Texans and Diggs. So they could do that, and they could see where his ACL repair, leaves him in terms of when he's going to be available. My expectation is that he will play the majority of the season, if not the full season, with a surgery that he had in season. Timing works, and he's working very hard. He's making a lot of progress. Moving toward the, wide receivers in the draft, the Texans met with several of them, including Emeka Egbuka. So you look at him and his ability to create space, to high point the football, former baseball outfielder, really tracks the football very well, very smart young man, high character, someone that C.J. Stroud has a ton of respect for, and mutually on the standpoint of his former college teammate. So you look at that option, I think that's a good one for them. The Texans, are a team that still has Nico Collins, but they need someone to complement him. I think Emeka would be a good addition. So that's something that they'll explore. Matthew Golden, there's Isaiah Bond. There are a lot of wide receivers. Luther Burden is another one. In Missouri, that I think is pretty intriguing. They don't necessarily have to draft one in the first round. They could wait. They have big needs at guard and defensive tackle. And then when you look at where things stand with the trade market, doesn't seem like they've been hot, or anyone's been very hot for Cooper Kupp, who's coming off a lot of injuries, limited to 12 games last season. Deebo Samuel, perhaps a different matter altogether. Deebo, of course, played for the 49ers, where D'Amico Ryans was the defense coordinator. He's coming off a down year, and he has submitted a trade request, and the 49ers general manager, John Lynch, said they're going to honor that request. So Deebo's play has declined in terms of drops and efficiency, but he remains somewhat younger and has some talent, and I could see him being a good addition for what they might want to run, and having someone that can really compete physically for contested catches and can also run jet sweeps and block downfield, and he has a lot of tools. I think a change of scenery would do him some good. Whether they really are deep involved, we'll see. I've heard differing things today at the NFL Scouting Combine, including some talk of reports being out there to try to drive up the price for another team, perhaps the Washington Commanders, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Denver Broncos. Lots of wide receiver needy teams out there. But the Texans, they are going to need some veterans, so it's worth looking into exploring the Deebo Samuel option. I'm more of a proponent of drafting one and having a younger wide receiver to work in tandem with Nico Collins. I think a lot of these retreads, you get what you pay for. And there's a lot of tread off the tire when you're looking at, wide receivers like Cooper Kupp, like Deebo Samuel, and Stephon Diggs. Diggs will turn 32 during the season. He's coming off the torn ACL aforementioned. And there's a little bit of messiness right now with Stephon Diggs, and he's been in the news for that. Doesn't necessarily give the Texans a reason to eliminate him from consideration, because they have not, but can give you a little bit of pause. And talking a little more about the lawsuit. So a lot of people are asking me about that. The thought was, a good defense is a good offense. So they wanted to be proactive. Sounded like this could have turned litigious from the standpoint of the woman he's accused of inflicting emotional distress and breaking his video game console and cell phone and a lot of other things. So messy, yes, but not something that can't be overcome. We're not talking about criminal charges against the woman or anything with Stephon. So who, by all accounts and everything I heard, was a strong locker room fit. He wouldn't have been voted team captain otherwise. So there are a lot of ways to do this. You could go with one veteran, like a Diggs or a Samuel or someone else, or you could go with rookies. And I think they're going to need more than that. I think they're going to need to bolster it in two ways, one with experience and one with some fresh young talent to try to get C.J. Stroud some better weapons. When they had Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell in the lineup at the same time, they were 5-1 before Nico Collins pulled his hamstring, missed the next 5 games. They had a real slide without him in the lineup. And then it compounded things when Diggs tears his ACL. And then when Dell tears his ACL and other ligaments and dislocates his entire knee, the offense really nosedived. And they became very one-dimensional in terms of, run-pass options and the balance that you would hope to achieve. And it made a predictable offense coordinator in Bobby Slowick even more predictable. Going forward, the Texans are going to really need to bolster this position. I can't think of anything more important right now than the offensive line. But wide receiver, it's like 1 and 1A. They're both very important. They have to get better at these spots, and they got to get some more weapons for Stroud as he heads into his 3rd NFL season. He's in the prime of his career, and they don't want to squander these years and the flexibility they have under the salary cap. And speaking of the salary cap, I hear a lot of talk about restructures, about short-term extensions, and a desire for Danielle Hunter to make more money. Who wouldn't want to make more? We all want that. He definitely earned it. Whether it's going to happen, there is no action, I'm told, per sources, that this is going to, all of a sudden happen. Maybe, maybe not. And it could stay the same, or it could just be a paper restructure where they create some cap space to get Danielle Hunter to, a lower cap figure and to reward him a bit with a conversion of his salary into a signing bonus. On the offensive line, they want to bolster what they have. I'm told there's not going to be widespread cuts. It's very possible there'll only be like 1 to 2 guys leaving this offseason, and perhaps even none. That's one scenario I've heard. So we'll see how they go forward with the offensive line. Be very interesting to see that, very intriguing. How do they kind of reset, in their words, this offensive line to go with hopefully more weapons to the wide receiver position. Another thing I heard around the scouting combine from multiple sources, the Texans would like to get younger at tight end. So planning ahead for perhaps Dalton Schultz, this maybe being his last season with the Texans if he doesn't bounce back. So they're looking at a lot of the tight ends in the draft and also veteran options. So that'll be very interesting to watch too. How do they go forward at tight ends? We're talking a lot about the offense. Jimmy Ward, it's possible he won't be safe from being cut. That's something that could happen despite the guaranteed money in his deal. So they have a lot of decisions to make and a few weeks to make them, really concrete on what they're going to do, what's the plan, and you got to have more than one plan because things happen fast, things change quickly in the National Football League, and one change is going to happen for me. a little change of scenery. I'm going to leave the Indiana Convention Center and I'm going to go to the airport. I'm going to head home and see my wife and get back to the good weather I'm hearing about in Houston, get out of the cold here. Enjoyed it, Indiana. It's been great, and I'm excited to head home and get a chance to reunite with family and get ready for free agency, the next step in the Texans offseason. From the NFL Scouting Combine, I'm Aaron Wilson. I look forward to our next conversation.